I need you to hate so I can use you for your energy.
This is real sales talk. Real sales advice from real sales practitioners. Giving you tips on how to dominate your sales quota are your co-hosts, Sean Mitchell and Phill Keen.
What is going on, Real Sales Talk? We have a very special guest wrapping up Season 7, Episode 10. Jack Kosakowski, one of our favorite sales leaders out there. Actually, sorry, no, that's a demotion for your CEO. So congratulations on the promotion.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, I've always been kind of the CEO. It's just I had to, when I started as an employee of one, I had to have more than 5 employees, I figured, before I would call myself a CEO. So I appreciate that, yeah.
Jack, I think that's a good rule of thumb, so I definitely love that. So we have a cool topic. I want to get into it today. You heard a great speech from Rob Jepson, who I think you and I both agree is one of the best sales leaders from a coaching side that's out there. I've heard him talk a number of times. Based out of Salt Lake City, rock star guy. And he talked about self-reflection being really powerful in sales leadership. And you're enticed, you want to talk about it. So maybe give us the rundown, the quick overview, and then let's get into it.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate to this, but I would say I'm newer to the sales leadership part. So I've always kind of managed and led and coached teams, but not necessarily as my own business, right? The thriving piece of whether or not we stay in business. So recently my business partner and I, Jason out of the UK, he's had the creation agency of the UK for about 11 years. And generally all of our business has been, referral business, just network and things like that. Same with me, right? We both kind of believe in the whole visible, valuable, connected thing, generate business from your personal brand. But I think that there comes a point where, that feeds the funnel so much, but we're not scalable. If we ever want to retire or sell this thing, we have to, have some other outlets. So we made a decision and we invested in, a few business development reps, and then we partnered with a guy that I just think is phenomenal, Michael Miller, and his team. So essentially, we now have a sales team, a true business development with SDRs and sales team in place. And we hired them and, thought we gave them what they needed. And, we're going to the drawing board, a month in, and it's like, we don't really have too much. We don't have a lot of appointments. We don't have this and that. And it was really weird because I've been thinking this whole time, wow, this is irritating. Why aren't they catching on? And then, it just hit me one day. I was on a phone call with my business partner, and I just said, man, we are doing things wrong. We're not giving these guys what they want. We're doing the number one thing to them that I absolutely hated being done to me, which was, you want everything from me, but you're not going to give me everything that I need to actually give it to you. So to go back to the point of Rob Jepson, Rob's a client of mine, a mentor of mine. And, I called him up because the guys, he talks about in his videos, which I was watching, is this whole idea and concept of modeling awesome. Have you guys heard of it? Are you familiar with it at all?
No, I'm not.
So Rob has a technology, it's called Xvoyant. And what it does is it essentially plugs into your Salesforce and it watches the behaviors one-to-one of your individual sales reps. But the premise around it is that if you want your sales reps to be awesome, you have to show them what awesome looks like. You have to model what awesome looks like. And I'll dive into the process that we took in this. So the first step, and Rob gave me guidance on, was, internally we had to look at, do we know what awesome looks like? What is an awesome long-term customer? What does awesome look like as far as who do I want to be on the phone with? What does awesome look like as far as how big is the company? What's the titles? What's the engagement look like? There's so many things in the sales process that we expect salespeople to know. And as I've been doing this whole exercise, with my sales team, it's really interesting because what we did is we split the sales team up into two groups. So I work with, two of the guys, and then there's another team of three. So there's two teams of three. And essentially we started at the beginning. We've met every day this week, and we're in the early stages of this. So we'll have to do another episode so I can tell you kind of the results. But essentially we meet with them, and we just started from the bottom, from the bottom up. And it's just, we dove into what do our customers look like. For example, we do really well with SaaS. I've got a great SaaS network. I understand it. A lot of the guys in the company that work for us, they've been involved in SaaS. They understand IT, especially IT is a big piece of our business in the UK. We've got large IT customers. So we wanted to stay in the area and the industries that we kind of knew. So we kind of modeled what that looked like, and we broke that down and detailed it, piece by piece. Then we went into, the whole idea of what does engagement look like? What does an awesome cadence look like? Now, with that being said, a cadence is, I'm not a firm believer that you give a sales rep a standard cadence and just say, here, you got to do this by the books. But at least if we could go through, we could see what the touches look like, and we could kind of analyze, old wins that we had, current customers, and say, okay, we did this, this, and this really seemed to work. And we can kind of put some structure around a cadence so that they can see what an awesome cadence looks like that's gotten to us to where we are now. But at the same aspect, we want them to be really, really involved, because a cadence that looks awesome right now could be even more awesome later. So we want to do testing, and we want to try different things. We want to get really innovative. One of the things that we talked about with modeling awesome is following our ideology, which is get visible, get valuable, connected, and then earn the right to ask. So our cadence is built around that. It's built around multi-channel, which is really, really important to us. Phone is in there. Don't worry for all you naysayers out there. But it's a multi-channel approach, multiple decision makers. How do we even broke down what does it awesome look like from a social buyer, right? Somebody that's maybe got a certain cloud score. We broke it down by awesome activity, and then we broke down the more traditional buyer where they're not very active on social, and we're mining emails for that, doing one-to-one prospecting emails and picking up the phone for those people. So we're actually separating the buyers inside of an account, and the cadence changes based on how they buy or where they communicate. And going down the line is, what Rob always talks about, and he's taught me, is you got to celebrate incremental wins. So inside of an awesome strategy like this, it's really, really easy as a sales leader to say, oh, we need something to happen fast. But that's not how it's gonna work, because we looked at what does an awesome sales cycle look like. See what the cycle of what's happening. And as you start to give reps a vision and you start to show them what awesome looks like, from my experience in this 1 week alone that we've done this, and we're meeting for 2 weeks straight every day, and then we're gonna meet twice a week for the next month, because we really want to turn this into collaboration so that we as a team can celebrate incremental wins, which means, hey, we've already celebrated, hey, one of our SDRs came back and we said, after we told you what awesome looks like, go pick out 50 accounts, and then let's meet and let's all go through them, and let's all decide if we all three think that you picked 50 awesome accounts. And the funny thing is, he came back and 38 of the accounts that he chose were spot on, right? We had some disagreements on maybe 12. We got rid of those. We replaced those. But we celebrated the fact that he got it. I mean, that's exciting, because one of the things that he said was, this is exciting because I didn't even know really what I was going after for before, right? We'd given him like this, somewhat of a broad idea, SaaS, VPs. Well, come on now, right? That's not enough. So now that he's starting to see the vision, you can just hear the excitement, and we celebrated that. The next step is, hey, how many touches did you get in the last 2 to 3 days, right? How many, what's your cadence look like? How many people have you moved through this 5-step process that we've come up with. How long does it take? Is 5 enough? Is 5 touches enough? Do we need more touches? And we're celebrating the whole process of what awesome looks like to the appointment stage. Now we're not, we're a weekend, so we're not going to have, we don't really have any appointments quite yet, but we shouldn't, right? Our cadence isn't built around a fast appointment. So we'll start to see, but I think this has been the most enlightening experience for me, because I've been a hypocrite in the ways that when I was in sales, I always complained that I never knew what awesome looked like. I didn't say it in those terms. But as you start to get and try to scale this business at the pace I want, at my business partner and so forth, it's really, really enlightening to actually feel like you're giving your sales team what they need, and then also to see the response and the reaction on their end. And I would challenge anybody in sales leadership today, if you are the one saying to yourself, oh, gosh, my sales reps, they are hitting quota, they're not setting appointments like they should be, we need to get rid of them and get some new. I can tell you right now that you probably need to do self-evaluation, because in most cases, 8 out of 10 times, you're probably doing what I did, and you're not giving them what they need to actually be successful.
Yeah, I think that's key, because you really have to define what success is, right? It sounds like that's what you're talking about. Awesomeness is equivalent to what is success? What is a successful customer? What is a successful persona? And then what is a successful cadence as well? So do you think, Jack, that a lot of sales leaders get into a job, or maybe even start a company for that matter? Let's say you're an entrepreneur, you start a company, and you just are like, let's just go for whatever sounds great. Let's go after this person or this company or this group of people without ever defining what success or that end result is.
Yeah, I think luck is involved a lot in the beginning, right? When you're building something, because you really don't have to have a lot to make it look like you're doing something. And we're in a position right now where we're doing very, very well as an agency. So we're not at a point where we need business, we're desperate or anything, but we're at a point where we just want to build something special, and that comes with, if you want something special, there's got to be a focus on the sales process and sales people, even at the agency level. And what my thought process is, I can help along the way. So we've even built inside of this cadence is, how do I come in and use my influence as the CEO and as the leader? How do I use my influence to help Gary or SDR? How do I help him in the sales process as things are happening in conversations or engagements going on? And I think here's another thing that's really important is, if you're a sales leader right now and you have no social presence or you have no visibility, it's kind of a slap in your salespeople's face, because in my opinion, as a sales leader or as a leader in a company, you have to put yourself and immerse yourself into the sales process with them at certain points. They need help. We are in a time that buyers need some credibility. They need to know and have trust in a brand. And right now, we don't have a huge brand, so our brand has to be the people. And I'm making a commitment that is something I'm going to do. I want to be there when they need me, and I want to be part of the cadence. So we've built me inside of this cadence where I'm coming in and I'm actually assisting my salespeople when they need it, right? You got to be efficient. It's got to be scalable to a certain extent. But there's tier one. Oh, the other thing I didn't talk about was we broke down accounts. So we broke it down into tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 accounts. Tier 1 always stays at 50. And the reason that we did that was because we want to make what's awesome focus look like. I think this is where our SDRs were getting a little bit off, is there's so much going on. There's so many people they're talking to. But what's happening is they're not defining a process, and they're not actually getting a result, because they're getting lost and there's no focus. So a big piece of this was, what does awesome focus look like? If we break down these into tier 1, which are the first priority, these get touched first. And if you don't get through those in a day, you don't go to tier 2. What is tier 1? Tier 1 means that they meet 90% of the criteria of what an awesome account looks like. They are, awesome buyer. And then tier 2 is, 50 to 80%. Tier 1 would be 0 to 50%. That's usually like your inbound leads that aren't qualified, that need nurtured or whatever. But there's so many eye-opening things that structure has to happen, in my opinion. If you don't have structure, you don't have process, you can't scale. And so that's the exciting part of what I'm watching happen right now and what I'm being a part of.
It's interesting because one of my core values as a leader in general is to bring your unique self to work. So as you start talking about how do you model awesome, I mean, there's skill set, and you're a very specific person I would think of when I start thinking of, hey, someone that's really good at building a brand and being social. Like for you, Jack, that's your unique personality set. For Gary might not be that. So how do you collaboratively work together to bring awesome to the forefront? And I think it's bringing your unique skill set to do that. So talk about that. So what's your expectations as an agency or as a CEO that's getting Gary to go make the moves that you want to go move? Like, he can't be you. So how do you get him to do the things you want to do, but still set reasonable expectations?
The thing is, when it comes to awesome, you're not telling somebody how to be awesome. You're showing somebody what awesome looks like. So with that being said, we might model what awesome looks like, and you know what? There's areas that Gary's tweaked that he said, that's not something I'm comfortable with, or I don't like the way that's done. And we've said, listen, that's fine, right? But here's the model, so you can take and make this model your own of what awesome looks like. And so, we've just worked together because I think there's a lot of things that happen in this. And the one thing you don't want to happen is you don't want to tell people how to sell. And when I mean that is, I don't mean, you want to give them the tools and the resources. You want to give them the critical thinking skills to see what awesome looks like, and then be able to think their own way into creating awesome and duplicating awesome. And I've never been successful when people have told me how to sell. I've always sold my own way. Like you said, I've got kind of like an eccentric kind of way of doing things. But I think what's fun about this is, Gary actually kind of matches my personality in a way. And I think that comes to hiring as a sales leader. If you want something to happen the way that you do it, nobody will ever be able to come in and do it the way you do it. But people can have the skill sets, the personality, the different areas that you see that you need in order to work collaboratively with them and actually give them something. Because if your style is completely off, like if I had somebody that was anti-social come into our company, it's going to be kind of tough. One of our sales reps, he's not very social, but he's he's more of a digital marketing mind. He's not, in sales. He's this first time in sales. So he's going a different direction. And that's actually why he's working with a different team. That's why we kind of split up 3 and 3s, because I'm working with somebody that, 2 guys that are kind of similar to me. And then our other team is a little bit different. They're a little less social. So they've got a completely different cadence of what awesome looks like because of exactly what you just talked about, Phill.
So with a lot of sales organizations, unfortunately, sales reps don't have strong sales leadership or strong leadership in general. And who's listening to this and saying, okay, I get it. Sales leaders should be self-reflective, but what if I don't have one of those sales leaders to help guide me? What's your advice to that sales rep with how to be reflective and come up with some of these things on how to be awesome or this ideal successful outcome? So
the one thing I don't want sales reps to take away from this is that, it's all your sales leaders' fault because you're not hitting quota. So don't think that. I mean, I think that in sales, you can give salespeople all the information, all the training in the world, but I mean, there's one thing there's only one major factor that means they're going to be successful, and that means that they're going to do whatever it takes. Because if I show you what awesome looks like, that means that somebody worked hard to figure out that model. And there's a whole process of how awesome even was formed. And if you don't know, and you're not going to do the work and the process, and you're not going to pick up the phone, and you're not going to test. One of the things we want to do is test. I want them doing video. There's a new tool that came out called Soapbox by Wistia. It's freaking phenomenal. It's a free tool. It's a video tool where you can record it from your desk. You could make a little fun slide deck, and you can send this straight in an email one-to-one. It's a new prospect. It's amazing. Like, if anybody out there in sales, get it right now. Soapbox by Wistia. And I want my sales reps, doing all that stuff. But at the same aspect, I can't, as a sales leader, I can give you the tools, the resources, and education to be supportive, but I can't do the work for you. So you have to understand, as a salesperson, if you're at a company, is it you or is it the sales leadership? Is it the resources? I mean, you have to do your own self-reflection. This doesn't just work for sales leadership. Just so happens that was my case. But salespeople have to do self-reflection, because the number one thing that most salespeople are good at selling is an excuse. If excuses were what salespeople sold, then they've hit quota 100% of the time, right? So you've got to understand: am I doing everything that it takes? And there's self-reflection that has to happen on the salesperson's part. And if you do that and you say, listen, I'm doing it all, I'm not getting what I need, I'm asking for it, then you got to leave. I mean, that's easy question. Or you have to start to model awesome with yourself and take self-inventory and do this whole exercise that I talked about. An individual sales rep could do that. They could say, what does awesome look like for me? What are the accounts that I've closed? What are the appointments I've set? And they could really take a deep dive into their sales career, or the company and the things that are happening. So at all levels, if you're in sales, you could be modeling awesome, but the first thing everybody's got to do is self-reflection, whether you're in sales leadership or sales. And only you know the answer to that.
So we've talked a lot about awesomeness. And we talked about how to define that, or how to look for those things in different areas. I mean, what if it's a new company? You don't have the baseline for awesomeness or ideal customer. Where do you start? Do you just come up with something that you think would be ideal? What's your advice to the person who is just getting off the ground and they can't pull from customer success stories, or call up a customer and ask them, what was it that made you buy with us, etc.?
Well, I don't think that there's anybody that has a company where they can't call up the company that bought from. So, I mean, I always say that start there. But I mean, if you start a company and you have, especially if you have a product, a service, if you don't know in the beginning stages who you're selling to, which should be your network, and going out and leveraging your past clients, whatever the fit is, you got to start connected to your early network. And I say that is because I did the same thing when we started the U.S. division of creation agency. I went to my old CRO at Acton, who had gone to a new company, and said, hey, give me a shot, because he knew what I was made of, but he's the only one that had a vision of what I could do for him. Now, then you got to kind of, streamline that up, and you got to get feedback. I think feedback is the number one thing. After you've got a few clients in your belt, start to feel it out. I think there's a sixth sense that you have in business when you're starting to build something, where you go, this doesn't feel right. You've signed them and you're like, I shouldn't have done that. And then there's other ones where you go, woo, I love this. I wish everybody was was like this. And then you can usually gauge by your level of whether you feel awesome about it or don't feel awesome about it. We'll stick with this theme. Whether or not they're a good fit. And then it's like Facebook ads. When you do a Facebook ad, they have a thing called lookalike audiences. And so if you've got a big enough pool, it has to be 20 or more, you can do a lookalike audience. If you don't, you can't do a lookalike audience. So you kind of have to guess off of those 20 and say, okay, I'll go create a generalized audience off of this, because I don't have enough yet. And I think, just putting your head down and worrying about getting the sales first get to a point where you can at least have a big enough pool to even think about that. But in the beginning, you can't really model what awesome looks like. I couldn't for the last year and a half when I was building this thing. I didn't know what awesome looked like. But when we got to the point where I felt good, I had a list of client names that we're doing business with. I go, okay, we're at a point now where I know that we need salespeople, and I know who these salespeople need to be going after.
Awesome. I love it. Let's give you a chance to tell our audience where they can connect with you if they like what they're hearing. And before we go into our exclusive YouTube content rapid fire. So how can someone get a hold of you if they like what they're hearing from you, Jack?
Yeah, so just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm sure my name is going to be here on the bottom of the YouTube video or wherever you're watching. And, just reach out. I would love to. I always love to hear that people listen to this and get their feedback, because I want to know what an awesome podcast looks like. So I can't, know if I'm being an awesome guest unless you tell me that. So, or, if you have questions, I'm going through pains. I'm a practitioner just like everybody that's probably listening. So whether it's sales or sales leadership or you questions about your marketing, whatever it may be, just reach out. LinkedIn's awesome.
Awesome. Yep, absolutely. You're heavily on LinkedIn. All right, so we're going to jump into some exclusive YouTube content. So if you're listening to the audio version of this in your car, when you get to your desk or your office, go onto YouTube, search Real Sales Talk, hit subscribe, and then fast forward to the end of this and listen to our rapid fire, where we get into the mind of our guests to see what it is that makes them tick and successful. So first question for you, Jack, is what routines do you have in your day? Something that you do in the morning or at noon or in the evening time before you go to bed. What's that one thing that you can say, I do this every day and it contributes a lot to my success?
I get up at 5:30 a.m. every day. I'm one of those people, if I don't start my day at 5:30, between 5:30 and 5:45, it feels like I'm just off. So I think that the earlier you get up, I've learned this throughout my life because I used to sleep till 11 a.m. till I was 27. Just like used to work in the restaurant industry, hospitality industry. Actually not 27, 24, sorry. But I would say you got to make a good sleeping habits. Sleeping habits for me determine my day.
Are you strict at what time you go to bed so that you can get up at 5:30?
No, I'm weird. 5 hours is like my sweet spot of sleep.
It's awesome. All right. Second question. I think that's really insightful. For those that want to know more about Jack's sleeping schedule and habits, hit him up on LinkedIn. I think that's a really interesting one. So second question for you, Jack, is what is one of the most recent books you've read where you've implemented that into your business you're running?
Oh, I don't want to admit this, but I don't really read books. For me personally.
What about a video, audiobook, podcast?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to your guys. I listen to Salesman podcast a lot. My thing is I like to read. I'm a short, quick reader. So I guess my number one source right now that's just killing it is Harvard Business Review. I don't know if you guys read their content, but holy crap. It's like, it is phenomenal. And it's phenomenal on all levels, especially if you're trying to build a business, because it's not, there's no fluff there, right? It's a lot of research-based stuff. And it's really innovative and really will give you a good idea of the pulse of what's going on in industry, your industry, sales, marketing, and all that.
Awesome. All right. This is going to be a new question that I haven't ever asked yet, but I like it and I'm going to go with it. All right, Jack, if you had a 30-second Super Bowl ad that you could run, what would be that message to sales reps?
Quit whining and start winning.
Love it.
Simple.
That's like a 5-second Super Bowl ad. Anything else you would want to say?
No, I mean,
it's just that, and then it's you with your finger pointed at him.
I mean, the thing about sales is like, there's no excuses. Like, you just figure it out. I mean, it's not easy anyway. coaching helps and, having support helps, but it's freaking hard, man. That's why we get paid tons of money and nobody lasts.
100%. What I love about sales, I love many things about sales, but in regards to this is you control your own destiny, right? You apply yourself, you work hard, and in many cases, it shows off and you're rewarded for it.
Yeah, I mean, and you decide what you want to do. I always say this: there's more options now to get connected to more buyers at scale than there's ever been. And if you don't want to commit the time to doing anything but selling, you're an idiot, because you'll be begging for business the rest of your life while I have people call my phone. Love it.
Awesome. Jack, it's really great to have you on. In fact, we're going to do this on a quarterly basis. As long as you're willing to come on and drop some knowledge, we'll have you on a regular basis. You'll be one of our standing guests every quarter. How's that sound?
Absolutely. I got to come back with these numbers, man. So we're a week into this awesome thing, but it'll be fun to watch. I mean, I'm hoping, let's cross our fingers, but you never know. It could go south.
And then you'll probably adjust, right? You'll adjust, you'll look at it and do something different that will get you to success.
Yeah, we won't fail either way. It'll just be, if we adjust the strategy, we don't know. SDRs, I've been told by many people that SDRs are a bad strategy for an agency. Maybe it is, right? I guess I'll find out.
Right, you'll find out. Cool, Jack. Well, thanks again for coming on Real Sales Talk. Family, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.